Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to our July 11th, 11/11. We are here again, as we do every month on the 11th of the month, to talk about living our values. And we do this at 11 a.m. Pacific time. So it is what we love to call our 11/11. And my name is Amy Johnson, and I am a values-based consultant and coach, and I help people get clarity about what matters to them most, whether that's in their personal life or their business or an organization, and then live accordingly and make decisions that align with the best part and best version of themselves and or organization, so that there's more fulfillment and more satisfaction, more abundance, which we're going to talk about today, and just genuine well-being. And there's a lot of research that supports this approach. So we're going to get into that today. And I'm here with my fabulous co-host and co-facilitator, Sheila Arthur. Hi, Sheila.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Amy.
Hello. So good to see you. And we have people kind of trickling in today, and some of you may be watching the recording, so welcome. And we are excited about this. We've been doing this now since November 2020. So it is, the months are adding up, and it's kind of hard to believe, but it came out of this idea that we wanted to create a space, a safe space where we could have a conversation about what does it mean to live in alignment with our values. And I like to start off by saying, what are core values? Because the word is used quite a lot out there in the world. A company will say, these are our core values, but they're really their customer service motto. They're not necessarily values. Sometimes they're values, sometimes they're not. But here we talk about core values as the words and phrases that connect us to our highest and best version of ourselves, kind of the divine within us, the pieces of us that we know we are flourishing and functioning at our best, and how we approach all that we do. They're also an amazing tool in our toolbox to help us bridge that best version of ourselves and bring it with us when we go out into the world that can be a little bit overwhelming, complex, and shocking even at times. I don't know if anyone else has had those experiences with the world, but I certainly have. And also to kind of find ourselves again if we get lost out as we're navigating life. So they really become a bridge to ourselves, no matter what situation we find ourselves in. And that's a tool that we're not using enough as individuals, as teams, as organizations, because it can really help us chart where we want to go and how to get there. So that when we get there, we're happy there. It's where we want to be. Too often, I don't know if any of you have had that experience where you've met the goal, you've been successful, you've hit the ball out of the park, lots of home runs, and the there's not there. There's still a sense of dissatisfaction. Has anyone ever had that experience who's on here?
Mhm.
Sheila, I see you nodding.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Climbing
Constance.
the
Okay.
ladder of success, and it's up against the wrong wall, or however you want it. Yeah.
Oh,
Exactly.
for
Okay. Yes. Mhm.
You've had that too.
Yes.
Yeah. What I think often I've had it too. I had a great career and I was on a huge trajectory, and all of a sudden I was like, where am I going? I don't really want to go where this is going to take me. And I stepped away from that because it was not in alignment of where I wanted to go. And that's where the values come in. When we set out and do this consciously, it can really help chart a path forward. So today we are talking about that, aligned abundance. And this is technically part two, because we had this theme last month and had such a dynamic and exciting conversation that we were inclined to continue it, because it's at the root of so much of what this work is about. What, the path to well-being. And so I would love to hear how, since last month and this month, has there been many celebrations or awarenesses about what abundance means to you, or aligned abundance might mean to you since then? Has anyone, I've had a few. Has anyone else had any?
Hmm. Less in terms of the financial, more in terms of just a continued awareness around my gratitude for what I do have and the way that life is showing up for me now. And right now, it seems to be in terms of connections and
Mm,
building relationships, so that's been really powerful. But it hasn't manifested, hasn't shown up so much in terms of my awareness around other than appreciating that I'm able to, pay the bills and there's like stability and all these other things. It hasn't
right.
been.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a really good point too, because I have that same uh kind of, I would call it in my for me, kind of gets in the way of my experiencing the full abundance, where I think it's not enough of what's
Mm,
happening if the monetary number doesn't hit what I think it's supposed to be. And as a business owner, it does go up and down. Business goes up and down throughout my long career of doing different things. And so it's about the money and it's not about the money at the same time. And what we're talking about here is abundance being kind of a broader sense of what that means. It's when we look at it too narrowly, we're not in our highest self and we're not in
mhm,
well-being.
mhm,
And what I heard you say, Sheila, is like, yes, I'm feeling it in my connections. I'm feeling it in my stability. I'm feeling it in my security. And yet it seemed like you weren't, because we so tie abundance to monetary overflow,
mhm, mhm,
right?
mhm.
The big yacht, which I don't even really want, but for some reason, all the abundance type of things online show a big boat or lots of parties and travel and trip. And that's not really what my abundance looks like for me. So I think, well, when I have thought about aligned abundance, it's important to understand what abundance means. What are these words we're talking about? It gets thrown around a lot,
Mhm, mhm,
but often about how to make more abundance, which is AKA make more money. This is
mhm,
the idea that you have, the money is there. How do you have abundance with whatever that is? How do you see abundance instead of seek it and
mhm,
thereby enjoy it?
mhm,
Because the
mhm,
research is really there to support that it's not necessarily more money that will buy the well-being and happiness. There's a certain level point that has been researched where you have to have enough money so you're not in survival mode.
mhm,
But beyond that, it's not the answer to it all. And we know that, and yet I know I can focus on it way too much.
mhm, mhm. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I think about experiences and having that sense of feeling abundance in those experiences.
Hmm.
Or just I don't know, even going out for a nice meal, or it doesn't even have to be that great a place. You know what I mean? Just like the experience of being
Oh
able to
yeah.
be in a restaurant eating wonderful food with people that you care about or enjoy their company. I mean, there's a lot of richness to that I've been taking in,
Right.
in a different way, like more, even more appreciative of that. And it's like, wow, this is like really nice. I like this. More, please.
Right. And when I looked up the root word of abundance, it comes like from the Latin root abundantia, which means fullness and plenty, right? So that doesn't necessarily only mean money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
That's
I think are kind of overemphasizing only about money. Money's a piece of that because it can certainly make things easier for us.
mm-hmm.
But there is so much, looking at our world and beauty and things we ignore in our kind of very myopic, narrow view of what abundance means or doesn't mean.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I thought we would do today, oh, Constance is back. There you are. I think you dropped off with some technicalities. Um, Well, I was going to say today, what we're going to talk about is there are three,
Yeah.
this idea of aligned abundance is really aligning our money, our resources, our time, our experiences, all the things that we have that can fall under that, to be aligned with our values. Where is that intersection? How do we ensure that where we're going, where we end up in our career, where we're spending our time and money and energy and attention is actually what serves us best, so that when we do it, we feel good and there is well-being. So that's the idea behind aligned abundance. And so today there are 3 phases to kind of creating aligned abundance. And we're going to talk about the first one today, which is awareness. So to be able to really have aligned abundance, it must start with awareness, awareness of what abundance means to you. So we'll talk about that. Awareness of, where do I spend my time, money, attention, energy, thoughts? Where do they go? And awareness on, what are my values? What are the things that are most important to me? Are they the same as what I think they are? Because I certainly can spend a lot of time on things that aren't what is most important to me. Brain time, ruminating, obsessing. And that is not the best use of my beingness. And our aligned abundance allows us to have more security in ourselves and in the divine, because we can see where it is working. It's really a shift in how we navigate. So today, we're going to talk about aligned abundance and the first phase of finding it, which is awareness. Hi, Cherise. Hi, Terry. So glad you guys are here. Bill, do you have anything to add to any of that?
I think you're doing an amazing job. I'm excited about this process because
Yeah.
where awareness is so near and dear to my heart and my experience. And so it's like, I love talking about it because it is so central to like having that awareness, internal awareness of what's important and what's happening for you, and
Right.
how things are, whether you have that sense of alignment in terms of your thoughts and your actions and all those things. And so I'm excited about it.
Yeah. Great. So that's what our workshop is for today, which is, the theme is aligned abundance, and we're going to be aware of what does that mean? What is awareness? What awareness means for in terms of abundance. And I think it starts with what I said earlier, which is, how do you define abundance? What is your definition of abundance? If you want to write along, you can. If you want to take a minute to jot down some ideas, but I'd love to hear if there's any who would like to answer what abundance means to you.
More than enough.
More than enough. That's beautiful, right?
That's just one thing that came to mind.
Right. Yeah, you're not like reaching for something or anticipating, or yes, I really, that is great. More than enough. That's a beautiful definition. And in fact, that was what I was saying earlier. I don't know if you were on yet, but the root of the word abundance comes from plenty. Comes from, I think it said fulfilled or filling. Fullness was the word. So that's exactly having more than enough. And yet I do see, now what do you see out in the world as people talking about abundance? Does that align with what you think of abundance?
Am I on a speaker?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I see in the word abundance is a dance. I think we have a dance to do with our own lives that is about more than enough. And I think that it comes from a place of almost a spiritual place that is somewhat about figuring out where you're at and figuring out your capacity for joy, I think, in wherever you're at. I got a lot of joy out of my work, and I've never had in my life, I've never had more than enough. Like when I imagine what a life of Mr. Bezos is like, $1 billion an hour. um, that's quite a measure of more than enough to measure against having enough. I have enough, and I have always learned to live within my means and have a good time anyway. So in some sense, within my means is enough. It's certainly not more than enough, but I think that one of the things that has made me unhappy in my life is this striving for this capitalistic version of what this sort of excess. I'm going to be driving a Lamborghini, and I'm going to be living in Hollywood Hills, and I'm going to fly to Spain in the morning and back by tomorrow and tomorrow night. And I think I think there are a lot of pictures of more than enough for us to feel like we don't measure up. And I like to have this sense of not measuring against others, but measuring what is instead of what isn't. I think that's it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. You said some really tangible and potent things there. So thank you, Terry, for sharing your wisdom through this conversation. Constance, did you want to jump in? I saw you. I don't know if you have.
Sure. My connection's spotty. I think I can get wrapped up in many people's view of lack and lack of abundance, and that for me it's important to be mindful and gratitude for abundance and all the ways it shows up and look for evidence of it. And having that abundance in all different areas of my life actually makes me more abundant financially, because I'm not seeking abundance through spending on things. So that's what I kind of got out of what you were talking about.
Yeah, beautifully said and well said. I that is why I asked that question, in the sense of, what do we define abundance as individually and collectively in this conversation? And what is it reflected to us in the world? Like, what does that look like? And I think the word enough came up a few times. And what is enough? How many houses are enough? I don't know.
That's the question, is what is enough?
Yeah.
Is it ever enough?
Is it ever enough? Yeah.
I find enough is enough, but I don't find enough being abundant. For me, abundant is living beyond enough. Having some abundance. And
should we break out into songs for dance? Is it time for a dance break? Enough is enough.
Oh yeah, right.
I won't sing too much for y'all. I just couldn't help it. Okay. Right.
Exactly.
Right. So enough is enough, but enough is an abundance.
No.
For me,
right.
For me, it's not abundance.
No, not at all.
Exactly.
But I think the abundance has to be said to be specific, because I have passed through a season of an abundance of trouble, and I would really rather not go through any of that ever again. So I would like to be more specific about my abundance, and I would like it to be an abundance of time to do whatever inspires me, and an abundance of what I define as enough money, I feel like right now I'm so accustomed to living within a particular amount of money that it feels like I don't have to look for a job. I don't have to think about it. I retired from a really great job and I don't want to do that anymore at all. And I am really sort of sorting it out over this period of time. And part of what I do is with Toastmasters. And another, I just took on caring for a dog that was on death row.
Oh,
And yeah, and I took him in for surgery yesterday, but because he's a foster dog, another person has agreed to take care of the bills. So it's perfect.
what a blessing.
It's
Yeah.
really a blessing. I mean, there is abundance in the way this is done. And this is just the sweetest, what is it, a Siberian Husky. And
Wow.
it's too strong for me. I do have to let it go. I would have adopted it if it hadn't nearly pulled me down a canyon 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
But I don't have to get rid of it in a hurry because yesterday she had all kinds of surgery and she's very slowed down. And I have two really wonderful people to live with, even though I have to complain every once in a while about both of them. I think I am in a part of my life where I feel like this is going to be my definition of abundance.
That is really beautiful, and thank you for sharing that. You bring up a very poignant point, which is that abundance for each of us may be different. There isn't one size
Yeah.
fits all.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe different times in our life where the meaning of it changes. I think the heart of it'll stay the same for most of us, but the kind of the actual application of it, what it means, can be different of what is enough or not. And what are the circumstances in our lives. But it's good not to determine our definition of abundance only by our circumstances, but to really go, you said it earlier, it's something in the divine, in the spiritual. Like abundance is something greater than kind of enough, whatever that amorphous enough. But from
Mhm.
my mind, oh yeah, go ahead, Charisse.
Well, I just wanted to give you an analogy as tied into my uh, comment as to more than enough, because I am struggling to get rid of clothes. I have several closets full of clothes, and I just look at it as I have an abundance of stuff, abundance of clothes. So when I look at it, I'm says this is really more than enough clothes. So that's where my more than enough thought process came from.
Yeah, that's a really important point. Does it feel burdensome at all?
No,
No.
no. But it's just
It's just
like,
choice. It was choice.
there's no, I mean, it's more than 365 days, I mean, worth of clothes in here. If I wore an outfit for every day, I'd have 2 years probably without repeating. Uh,
That's amazing.
you know, but
Yeah,
yeah.
there's an
So
interesting statistic that was recently came out that's 54% of Americans are overwhelmed by their stuff. Like it's causing mental
wow,
health issues. So that's what the perspective I was coming from. Like
that's such
sometimes
a high number.
too much. Like over half the population are overwhelmed by their clutter and stuff. So
I
it really does tie into this aligned abundance conversation. So I really am glad you brought that up.
Mhm.
Um, and so that's why I was asking if it lights you up and makes you feel like you have choice and excitement when you want to get dressed and abundance, then that's perfect. Then you've hit the sweet spot. If it starts to feel like a weight or too much, or I don't have any room for anything else in my closet, then that's where you get to decide, oh, maybe it's past the abundance and into something else. Like, I think there may be, like more than enough. And then where's the line after abundance? When does it become something else? And I don't know what the something else is. I'd be curious if anyone has ideas about that, but it seems to, but that's where that awareness comes in, what we're talking about here. To have aligned abundance, it's the awareness. What my closet, like I was just talking to someone yesterday who cleaned out, I think she said 12 bags of clothes from her closet and showed us pictures of her closet before and after. She's a teacher that just retired. She was so happy and proud of herself and felt light, and her closet looked great. We saw the before and the after pictures, and the clothes went to donation. And it was just fascinating. But then how quickly we filled that up, that space. So that's some of what we're talking about here too, is that you're not alone in that. The statistic is in the 80s, I think it was, it was 80s or 90s, Americans bought a total of 12 pieces of clothing, including shoes, per year, each person on average. 12. Do you know what the number is now?
Way more because of COVID.
Yeah, it's 65 pieces of clothing per person
Shut up.
per year. 65. That is a lot per person.
That's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. Right. So is that abundance, or is that whatever's on the other side of abundance?
Conspicuous consumption.
Conspicuous consumption.
Conspicuous consumption.
Yeah. And how do we determine what enough is? Right? Like, that's the good question. If we're going to be in alignment, where are we going to let other people determine what is enough? Like what these billionaires are doing, is that what is enough for us? Not for me, but maybe for somebody else it is. That's not right or wrong, but how do we determine what is enough?
Yeah, I think it's just based on one's own opinion, and that would be me.
Yeah.
Like yourself. Because truly you can't go off of someone else's point of view of what enough is, because what may be enough for you may not be enough for me.
Right. Well, and we have an incredible advertising and marketing world and brand world that really likes to tell us what is and isn't enough. Right. Which then how do we decide what is enough? But I think the values are, I think you're exactly right, Sharice. It's an inside job. And the values, when you do them in that conscious way of really being sure that they're your values, as well as the values that you think you have, you really are clear that, oh yeah, these are the right ones. They're really a helpful tool to know where that line of enough is. Because sometimes our enough can make us smaller. And I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about playing small or living in a box or being only minimalist. I'm talking about really flourishing. One of my values is flourishing, learning the difference in all of that, like where my abundance would need to be flourishing, which is plenty, more than plenty. So it's really using the values to help define what is enough for us. And it's a bit amorphous, but I do think it's a worthy inquiry. It's a worthy thing to ask. Does that resonate? Or does that feel more?
Yeah, I think flourish is a good word because, I have all these plants in my backyard, and most of them have flourished through this period of really a lot of construction going on, and I haven't watered them as much. And they kind of spoke to me by, drooping very badly for a while. And so I would water them, but they've been watered much less and still flourished.
Mm.
And I think that a lot of life is this kind of the low part of a roller coaster. It has ups and downs of how you define flourish and what it looks like. And
Yeah.
I think right now I could say the construction is over on the little house, and we are not flourishing in terms of all the people involved because there's some obstacle that we cannot seem to solve in the way of getting this permit. We've paid all the money, we've seen the show, and they still won't give us a permit.
Mm.
Wow.
And so in that sense, it's making me really unhappy. But now LA is coming up with a new way to find home ownership, which is to allow people with ADUs in the backyard to be able to sell their ADU
Mhm.
Oh, wow.
separately. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So that's a kind of an
Okay.
interesting thing.
That is interesting.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. So I think so understanding ourselves, what does a abundance mean for us? What is enough? Getting back to that, what does flourish mean? Where is it, too much, and where is not quite enough? But if we find ourselves, like, I tend to have the brain that says it's never enough. Like, literally, it's never enough. I don't work hard enough. I don't do enough. There isn't enough this, there isn't enough that. Like, my brain default is not enough.
Yeah.
My work is to look for, where is there enough? Which is what Sheila was talking about earlier, like looking for the abundance in what's already there, the flowers that are blooming, the enoughness in the beauty of my backyard, the home that I do own, the work that I get to do, the place I live in California, LeBlanc, mile from the beach, 2 miles from the beach, like, wow, there's so much abundance there.
Yeah.
And if you're someone who's always like, it's enough, and that's enough, and are tending to be in the other extreme, then maybe it's a different definition. And there's everything in between. It's that awareness of where we are with our abundance story, with our enough story. And where does that fit into our system, right? Like Charisse was saying, for some people, the enoughness is overwhelming when they look at their closet, that's a cue that it's in, I saw this term overabundance. Maybe that's the next one. It's an overabundance. Or, oh, wow, this feels great. I'm excited. My nervous system excited. I can't wait to go out tonight and put on my red dress, then that is abundance right there, right then and there.
Mhm.
So, or if you're looking at it, go, God, it's still not enough. I need another closet. My closet is too small. I need a new house, I need a new big. That's the other extreme.
I have enough clothes, but not enough closets.
Right. It's not a closet. I need more closet. I'm taking over his closet. He gets to leave, and I'm going to have his closet because that is just not enough. Right. That's a different issue.
And that's funny. That's funny. Because I said, if I clean out this closet, I could actually make room for his clothes.
Right. And then, but it is an interesting conversation because that's where the values can come in too. There isn't a right or wrong answer to your question. It's just, what is that highest version of you and what's going to feel good to you? But not just see, when I say feel good, it's important that I distinguish not just indulgence. It's not just impulse. Like, I just want to eat that cookie because it feels good. That's fine to do sometimes, right? But I'm talking about a different kind of feel good. The thing that is that inner joy, that well-being, the pleasure of knowing you're on the right path, so that when you get there, right? So like you decide your closet's more important than making room for him. That's a fine answer. But if he ends up going, ah, there's no room for me in this life and moves out, and 6 months later you're upset, then it's an interesting question to ask. And I'm not saying that's going to happen. I hope that was okay to go there. Just as an example. Or the other way around. Oh, I'm going to make room. And then you find a way to make room. Or you go get storage, or you say, here, use the closet downstairs. Like you can be creative with the answers. It's not so much what the answer is, it's just being clear within yourself about what you are desiring, what your highest good is. And when we have a tool such as the values, it's not moving around. It's not 1 minute this, 1 minute that. It's really something you can rely on because, okay, I know if connection is a value of mine. All right, I need to be sure to have connection in what I'm, that whatever our decision I'm making, connection is a piece of it. Connection to myself, connection to the divine, connection to others, right? Connection to my stuff. If I can't find my stuff, that doesn't feel good to me. I've ruined stuff, keeping it, hoping I'll use it for another day. And then it got ruined by a flood. Right. And so like that felt terrible to me.
But then what if I say abundance can be my value?
Yeah.
And
abundance can totally be a value. But that's where you would define it really clearly for yourself. And you would know exactly what it means when you say abundance. It wouldn't mean, like if you heard the word abundance on a YouTube speaker, it doesn't necessarily mean that abundance is what your abundance means. You'll know the difference. We had someone in one of our workshops use the word luxury as her value because she had a very specific meaning for that for herself. And it was beautiful. And when we ask, where did that value come from? Because that's part of the inquiry to validate that these are your actual values. It was very personal to her and her own well-being. And you could see that. So it's not for me or anyone else to say that is or isn't the right value. It's just to know within your heart, it will take you where you want to go. And help you be who you are and how you act in the world. Does that make sense?
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah. So it's
wow.
a beautiful
I consider that very daring to say luxury. For me, it would be very daring.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but that doesn't mean it's your value. It may come up in another way. So luxury for me would probably be in flourish. Luxury for me would be part of what it means to flourish, to feel luxurious, to feel what luxury means. So for everyone, it might be a different way of saying that the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
So there's usually a way to kind of communicate that through our values. To say what value, with each of you, which of your values resonates the most with kind of abundance? Is there one? Or
probably a connection. I think that I have a kind of a need for connection with people, and I spend a lot of time on that.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And it sounds like with your new pup too.
Yeah.
Connection is a part of that as well. See, I would say abundance too. I would find a way, each of my values can plug into abundance in a way. If abundance isn't one of my own values, the values will help show me what abundance means to me.
Yeah.
That's what aligned abundance is. And there's different ways to play with that. But the awareness, that's what we're talking about now. What does this like, what are my values? What does abundance really mean to me? What do my values have to say about what is enough? What isn't enough? Those are all journaling questions or prompts that can help bring that awareness. And then the fun things go like, okay, where does my money go? Where does my time go? Where do my resources go?
Yeah, I did a real cleaning out yesterday. I didn't know you could find on your phone the things you have signed up for on your phone that are being charged to you monthly or yearly. And my roommate helped me look at that. And I was able to get rid of almost $150 worth of things I don't actually want to have be signed up on anymore.
Mhm.
So now
Right.
I have more abundance.
Right. Well, it gets back to what we were talking about earlier too. So when you have the clarity of, if you did that and you looked at your values as you were making those decisions, or if there was one you weren't sure about and you used your values to help decide it, right? Then you get clearer that the money you are spending is going towards the things you want that
Right.
align with the highest version of you. If you're saving for a home, because that's really something you want, because it aligns with your values and your life, then when you spend things on this XY over here, it's not so much a budget, it's more just where's your attention, time, and money going, and having the clarity to know that and that it aligns with your values. So it's not about kind of constricting anything as much as shifting our awareness around it and our thinking, because a lot of us have beliefs around abundance and how much abundance can we tolerate, how much abundance is comfortable, all of that.
And
And
then I also, when I think and hear when I can reflect on abundance, I tie it into my spiritual aspect because
mm,
I know that my father died because of all of our sins, and he came so that we could live our life in more abundant and live it to the fullest. So I also think of an abundance that way because um in a spiritual aspect, um my God is lavish and he's unfailing abundance.
right.
He's the rich omnipresence. So
That's beautiful. And whether, and I love the word of lavish too. That could be a beautiful value as well. And what I heard in your words, and tell me if I'm accurate, is it's a gift. That abundance it's a gift.
it is a gift. I feel it is a gift
Yeah.
because not only is it, I mean, a mindset that you have to have, you have to walk it and talk it.
Right.
And if you shift or you falter, um, and some folks may believe in the law of attraction and if you do, and that's fine and everything, but hey,
Hi.
um, you have to have a positive, mindset. I feel, shit happens. Hey, shit happens to everybody, but it's how you embrace that moment and face, you have options. You'll always have options, but it's how you take on the next set of course work. Okay, I think I'm done. My 2 minutes is up. Okay, table topics. Okay, let me cut this short. But yeah, I could go on and on.
They're very loud over here. Excuse me, the dogs are barking. But I thank you for sharing that and sharing about your faith and the connection between this conversation and faith and having that alignment. I mean, you spoke specifically about that. How do you align all of this to kind of the best version of you? How do you do that in walking the walk and talking the talk? It's not easy. It's not about doing it perfectly. And that's where talking about abundance and values, I think or money and values, let's call it, or wealth and values, all of those things are so important because they're, it is about walking the walk. And it is about how do you do it? The values are the tool to show us how. And awareness is the first piece to go, okay, what's the lay of the land here? What are the values? And so that's basically kind of what you were talking about, and taking it into kind of a different realm. So kind of like, how do you go from, for myself, like, how can I go from my meditation, my spiritual space, and like walk out of the room and into the world, you know, whether that's my digital world or dealing with others in any capacity, or, you know, calling Verizon and still staying in my alignment of values without getting frustrated. So, Constance, did you want to jump in?
No, I'm listening. That's all very
Okay.
good. Good stuff.
Yeah, thank you. So I think the awareness piece that is so important in this phase, to take the time to really be aware of, because they also, you know, I've also heard in studies as well that we have our abundant set points or monetary set points. Have you heard this too? That people who win the lottery make tons, you know, millions and millions of dollars, end up kind of exactly where they started.
I have heard that.
And so there's this kind of set point that we're most comfortable with. So we can talk a lot about abundance, buy a lot of courses about abundance, which this is not about, how to get more of it. What this is just it's a shift in the conversation. It's talking about how do we align what we're doing and what we believe, what we care about, what is most important to us, with our money, our wealth, our values, so that we can feel satisfied, joyful, and well-being in all the decisions we make, and help us navigate it. Some of these are really kind of complex. The world's gotten super complex in terms of financial things. So how do we make these decisions? And the values are, I'm so grateful because they help take a little bit of the angst away from me from deciding, because once I can rely on them, I can really go to them. So it's a tool I really believe in for that. And people don't think you talk about values and money. Values are something that you put over here, and, you know, they're aspirational, but you don't really talk about it with money. Unless you donate, then you know, that's enough. You just donate. You get your tax write-off, you donate. But there's a whole lot more in between, I think, in that regard. I would love anybody's thoughts on that concept.
Well, I think value and money are talked about sometimes in the same, I mean, word of that house is whatever it will bring, not what it is said to be worth on any of the websites that tell you your house is worth 3 times what it actually is. But value and money seem to overlap. And, you know, I would think that valuing, I have a cousin who grew up very poor, and I think she has money and love as one. Money and love are the same thing to her. And I missed donating one time to one of her kids' events that they were selling things for, and she hasn't spoken to me since. So there's an interesting thing where values and money get mixed up.
That's interesting.
I think that it sounds like you're talking about there's just like 2 levels of there's value and values, which are a little bit different. I mean, both equally important, but value is like what we place on, I mean, so many things. You're right, money and our time or whatever else, resources, whatever we consider to be of value. And then there are our values, which are the guiding, that are kind of like the guideposts in terms of what, how we navigate through all these things. Abundance, our sense of aligned abundance, what's important to us, what
Yeah.
to focus on. And so it's
Mm.
like, the words are so similar, but they're also, I mean, it's powerful in a sense, because yes, we do value things and we use money as a measure of a value, right? I mean, this is how we earn a living. This is, I mean, this is like the energetic exchange, right? That
Well, and how we value
things can
ourselves,
be, and
money,
how
and
we
how we
value
value
ourselves.
ourselves.
Absolutely.
And it's the thing about people living on the street. What happened? Their values. I've heard some people think that being spiritual means not having money. Anyway, I interrupted you. I apologize.
No. And for some people, that's true. And I think that's the whole point that we've been talking about, is just in terms of really identifying what, not only what, being aware, not only of what our values are and the importance of those, like naming those, owning those, claiming those for ourselves, irrespective of what society says, other people say, our families, our history, our religion, but really claiming and knowing those values for ourselves and using those as the way that we navigate through life. And then also just understanding our own value, like what, so it's like our own value, our own sense of worth. It's like, if I value myself, then I'm going to look at my values and use those, because that's important to me, because then that makes it clear. I can live a life that feels aligned for me at every step of the way, even though it may not outwardly appear that way to others. But to me, like, living in abundance is about all of the experiences of my life. It's like my connections, it's like my health, it's like my well-being, it's like, the financial part, it's like what I have, and taking all of those things into account and having all of those things feel aligned in a way that, yeah, I can feel abundant today. And then even if I add to that, I can feel abundant tomorrow. If I have the yacht, or if I have the other things, if I have these grand things, that could be abundance. But I can also appreciate abundance in this moment, like today, now, like right now, there's abundance all around me. And so for me, that awareness and really like tapping into that is where this all comes alive, because yes, in terms of growing and flourishing and inviting beauty and creativity in every moment, and like leading with compassion and sacred connections, all these are my values. And it's like, oh, so how do I live those every day and have that sense of aligned abundance? It's like there's magic everywhere. If you're aware, if you're present, if you look at it and experience it. And so for me, it's fluid, it's fluid. It flows, in terms of what abundance is and how I experience it, but knowing that I can experience it all the time.
It's so beautiful, Sheila. Thank you. And it is all of those things that you just said. And I do think what we just talked about, right? Or you just said this, we're valued by money is the determination of value, right? So that's how much of our world operates. But our values offer a place for money to be a determination of value, but not the only measure of value, not the only determining factor. I think that's the key, is that we are expanding what it means to have value by really living from our values.
Oh, that's beautifully stated. I like that.
And I think it's for all of us to be able to kind of know what our own story is around this, know what our own truth is around this. And that's why the first phase, before we can get to alignment, we have to be in awareness. And even before we get to abundance, I believe we need to be in awareness, or else the abundance we are in will likely not be the abundance that is our truth.
Mhm.
which is where we started the conversation when we felt unsatisfied,
Mhm.
at the accomplishment goal, aspiration, be on the top of the mountain, lots of money, career, all of these amazing things, and we're not happy or didn't feel good or continually felt insecure.
Mhm, mhm.
So I think it's at the same time, which I love about these conversations, they are both kind of abstract, esoteric, and practical. We're literally talking about closets. What are we buying? We're talking about how we're going to build a home or where we're going to live or how we're going to engage in a relationship or what does it mean to be enough. The values allow us to get out of the abstract, even though most of the conversation is there, and get into the real. And that's what we do on these calls, is get into the day-to-day, the bridge between the divine, right, and our everyday lives, our work lives. And I am so grateful to be able to have these conversations with you all.
Yeah, it reminds me of a time in 12 steps where it was recommended that you set an alarm to every 5 minutes to have your alarm ring and make a connection to God. And I thought that was a great exercise
Mm.
to
Mm.
bring God into your life that often.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I have in my phone awareness heart breath where it says, 2:22 is awareness heart breath time. And so I would ideally put my hand on my heart and take a breath. Like that's it. It takes maybe 2 seconds. Do you know how many days I just pass by that notification and don't do that? I have something more important to do? Really? I mean, it's not that hard. Just like, you can all do it with me now if you want. Like, put your hand on your heart, take a deep breath in, smile if you want. I just can't help it. It feels good. Like, why
Yes.
wouldn't I do it? Like, what could be more important? I can do it even if I'm at a light. Like, I'm not going to be distracted. I'm not checking my
Right,
text.
and it only takes 2 seconds. 2 seconds, 2 breaths in
No,
and
I can
out.
hear myself saying, I'll do it later. I'm too into feeling how I'm feeling right now.
Right.
Yeah.
So to that point, we're all a work in progress to some degree, but how abundant to breathe. I mean, literally, like to be able to put our hand on our heart and be here in this moment and to be with all of you, like that is abundance to me. And it aligns with all of my values to be able to do this with you all. So thank you for being part of my abundance story.
Yes.
Any final thoughts? We're right there at noon.
Thank you for another wonderful session.
Thank you for
Yes.
coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was great to be with all of you and to begin our awareness journey. It's a powerful one.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Was very, very full hour.
It was. It really was. And there'll be a recording. I think all of you are in the community. I will post it in the community and it'll also be on YouTube if you want to share it with anyone or you are interested in watching what we talked about again. Because sometimes this was really rich. Each of you provided something so rich to add to the conversation and the workshop that we did as we walked through defining what is abundance.
And thank you for putting the link in the text. That made it really quick.
It's the same link.
Yes, I'm very appreciative of that.
Yeah. So I keep it in my notes. So I like, I know. Lots of love to you all. Please join us next month. If you want more on aligned abundance, please message me or text me because I have some other ideas about this topic and I'm thinking of different offers and programs to do. So if there's something you would like to hear more of, or I really welcome your feedback.
Okay.
what you like
Great.
in the conversation in our workshop today and what you want more of and all that. I could put it in this way too. Okay.
Okay.
Love you all.